Hello and welcome to episode number 53 of Daily Global Insights with Sridhar Chityalaji. Sridharji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram and very good morning to you.
Sir, first off, yesterday the certification happened, and President-elect Joe Biden is now has been certified. What are your thoughts on that? And there is still a lot still going on underneath. So let's take a quick look at what is happening on the U.S. election, sir.
Great. Well, I think that amidst a lot of drama since November 3rd, the December 14th deadline was met, where especially the six battleground states certified the results and sent the results to the House, and President-elect Biden and his deputy Kamala Harris are now officially recommended as the president and the vice president. There was a statement issued by President-elect Biden, thanking everybody, and the nation must reconcile and look forward, turning a new leaf and move forward. That was obviously negated by President Trump. President Trump indicated that this is not over. I am fighting. There has been a massive fraud, and we will make sure that the fraud is highlighted and the justice is done. So it was a fairly somber type of announcement and event, notwithstanding the fact that the mainstream media, especially the left media, there's no left, there's no center, mostly center left media, gave it a kind of a big thumbs up that it's all kind of over.
However, we know that in 4 states, what happened was the state legislature sent up not only a set of Democratic Electoral College, but also a Republican Electoral College. So we now have a situation where you're going to have, for these 4 states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Michigan, I think, where all and Arizona. So it's not Michigan, it's Arizona. So what we are going to have is a situation where you'll have dual sets of electoral colleges in on come January 6th, and walk this process through, sir. What really happened? And we are also getting some very disturbing trends about the performance of these machines. When testing was done by some experts, they weighed in on what happened in a specific county in Michigan. So perhaps you can walk us through what are all the different states one by one and where things stand on them.
Well, I think the 4 states that you rightly highlighted, which is namely Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, there was also the Republican senators expressing concerns about the integrity of the elections and casting their votes, what they call as the electoral votes, casting their electoral votes for President Trump and Mike Pence, in the process giving room for the litigation to continue. Because once it is formally certified, then litigation cannot continue until it gets to the process. So they're saying that the litigation should continue in looking at the validity of the elections in these 4 states, right? So therefore, that process continues. What now happens? The next milestone is January 6th. The House and Senate meet in a combined session. They look at all these votes that are cast. They assemble them. And at that point of time, these Republican electors who cast separate, they have the right to basically say, please count us separately along with the House and Senate votes, the combined votes. So that could be a very interesting scenario should that develop. It's not instantaneous, but it is at the discretion, right? So therefore, you get into a situation where it opens up a whole panorama of, back to the controversy. Based on these numbers, it looks that should that situation arise, then, Trump and Pence will get them through, rather than just purely on the certification of the current electoral votes cast as is. So that's the drama that one can expect on January 6th. Now, is January 6th cast in stone? No. This can go on till January 20th. January 20th is the cutoff date when the president has to be sworn in. So effectively, there are two milestones, January 6th and January 20th. We have crossed the December 14th milestone. So this is what you can see in this scenario of the electoral votes being counted differently under the circumstances of a trigger, which could be coming from one of these cases. There is also another scenario where when this House and Senate meets, one member from the House and one member from the Senate can cast doubt and ask for a discussion. The House and Senate separates for a 2-hour debate on this. At that point of time, they will cast their vote again, but differently. Each state delegate gets one vote. So there are totally 50 delegate votes, 30 in favor of Republicans and 20 for Democrats. So should that situation arise, already Mo Brooks in the House, Ron Johnson in the Senate, Rand Paul has also expressed doubts in the Senate, plus there has been no less than 122 Republican members on either side, House and Senate, have expressed concern on the integrity and the validity of the election. So we are in for what you call a potpourri of activities, and it can take one of these two directions. There is a third piece to this, which is the December 18th deadline. In 2008, President Trump passed
2018, I think.
Sorry, 2018. I'm sorry. 2018, President Trump passed an executive action order which states that if the NIA, National Investigation Agency, the head of the NIA, in concert with a set of people, submits a report to the president that there is evidence of fraud and foreign interference. It's very important, foreign interference, then the election can be deemed null and void. What happens at that point of time is an interesting question, whether the same president continues or whether there would be a new, but it will set aside the current election. So you have this scenario, and let's wait what happens on December 18th, which is only 3 days away. Okay? And you would have already seen, we covered, John Ratcliffe, the NIA head, had indicated, hey, look, this is not over. The elections are being still contested. And so therefore, there's at least the preliminary evidence of fraud. He has not stated as yet foreign interference, but he has stated that there was potential fraud. So this is where all these evidence, people think that, they lost 25 cases. It's only one case they won. There's a lot of stuff presented. There's a lot of presentations made. I think it's been a very carefully, just as the Democrats ran a very effective campaign in terms of these absentee ballots and drop box ballots, and to some extent, the countings that took place, which is being contested in Pennsylvania, being contested in Georgia, being contested in Nevada, being contested in Wisconsin, being contested in Michigan. There's independent observers not being present, and, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, that's now extended to New Mexico. The New Mexico is a new state that has been added to the litigation. Just yesterday, the presidential team filed, right? So the story is you have all these issues in a couple of these domains. States, they had pointed out the servers were kept open. The forensic evidence, especially in Georgia, points to connectivity to China and
Internet.
Iran. And in the case of these Dominion servers, they said that there was some raids conducted in Barcelona and Frankfurt, or in Germany. So therefore, how all this data is put together by John Ratcliffe is another open item which becomes apparent on December 18th. Or we'll get past December 18th and we'll move quickly to January 6th deadline.
Viewers, might I point out that in 1960, the state of Hawaii had sent two sets of electoral delegates, one Republican and one Democrat. So what we are seeing play out today is not the first time this has happened. It has happened in the 1960 election where John F. Kennedy narrowly beat Richard Nixon. So these kinds of things have had some precedents before. Now, sir, there is a question that I have about this whole thing. Regardless of what happens, let's say on 20th of January, Joe Biden, is declared president and assumes office. It's going to have a Damocles sword hanging over his head, just like the first term for George Bush until 9/11 came along, that you stole the election, you stole the election, you stole the election. So that kind of thing is going to hang on this presidency. I don't know how he's going to shake that off. I'm just making an observation. People are going to keep that in their mind. You don't have to broadcast it on new media to say this. One thing. The other thing I really have doubt is, supposing somebody wants to steal an election, would they not do a little bit more clandestinely than the open way in which some of the Dominion software glitches are coming out? For example, internet connectivity to countries abroad. That's a telltale sign that somebody is trying to tamper with it, isn't it?
Why, this is not a speculation. This is a forensic audit conducted in Georgia by, I think we reported this, by Trump, Sidney Powell, and Dr. Vaz. And they say that, these machines were connected and there was a backdoor entry feasible because the connections were live, hot connections. Not that they say that it occurred, but they say. What did they say? They did say that what did occur was some of these USB drives being inserted, and which gave the ability to override and switch votes. That they did quite explicitly make a case around that. So, to your question, to your point, which is namely that this is going to be very discomforting phase for the next 12 months, 18 months, irrespective of who becomes ultimately the president. Right now, it is Biden and Kamala Harris' team. So let's assume they continue, or let's assume that Trump, whosoever comes, I think this is going to be the next 12 to 18 months is going to be very tough phase for United States. Just to give you an example, there was a significant protest over the weekend by the Republicans supporting Trump. The Antifa supporters came and apparently bet up, and that also happened on Sunday. And yesterday's report is those guys who were put behind bars, you have, another set of people coming in and saying they all have to be released, and that turned out to be a reasonably violent protest, or it was not a very harmonious or peaceful type of activity. So there is already, preceding to this, there was the BLM, and there was a whole raft of issues. And there was also threats that if the right person is not chosen on the eve of November 3rd, then there would be, protests on the streets. Now, obviously, nobody knows whom they meant. And at least in some of the cities like Manhattan, Atlanta, even DC, and maybe Detroit, you had boarding of shops and other things that was done in anticipation to make sure that there was no damage. So there is an undercurrent of issues that's prevalent. And that could pop up, or, once we get past January 20th. So that has to be overcome over the next 12 months. There's also fundamental policy shifts that are taking place. or as a result of a new person coming over because their policies are fundamentally different. So what the consequences of that, one has to kind of see. Also, the differences in the House seats and the difference in the eventual Senate, doesn't matter which way it goes, is hair-thin margin. 11 seats separates the House, and probably 1 or 2 seats separate the Senate. And so this is not like, you have, 6, 7, 8 seats cushion in the Senate, and it's not like you have 30 seats cushion or 25 seats cushion in the House. So it's going to be very, as you rightly point out, very kind of contentious and very egregious kind of things as we move forward. My feeling is it may take about anything from 6 to 12 months for these things to kind of settle down.
Thank you, sir. And let's take a look at the resignation of the Attorney General, Barr. And there was news floating around that President Trump might actually fire him, but he decided to resign before he got fired, I guess. Is there any significance of the timing of that resignation, or is it something that is like, it was going to happen one way or the other, so there's not much significance to it?
No, I think it's a series of steps that's happening. You probably know that the December 14th was an important cutoff date. The controversy seems to be more controversy because Biden and Trump is known for being outlandish. He can critique anybody. He can critique anybody other than himself. I think many of those statements reflect. But it's been made known now that the Department of Justice and Mr. Barr were aware of the Hunter Biden investigations. So there is some sour feelings as to why that was not made public, even by some of the House and Senate representatives. Also, Slowell's situation, which is namely his connections when being part of the Security Committee, right? So Intelligence Committee, that he had connections. It's not, was he being looked at? And if so, why it was not brought to the attention. So there's this whole slew of issues, but they seem to have had an amicable resolution to the matter. 23rd, he leaves, Rosen takes over, Donahue becomes another, the deputy, and they will ride the wave till the transition happens. So I think he said, I've had enough of stress and done, thank you so much. And, they had a great exit. So however much we may paint a little bit of controversy around it, but they seem to have, he's not fired, he resigned, and it was an amicable kind of resignation.
So William Barr exits, and another one of those situations where...
I forget the first name, Rosen takes over, who was the president deputy, and then Donahue was the assistant. He takes over as the deputy attorney general. Yep.
Right. So viewers, we do not have the list of details about the 1.95 million CCP members that have penetrated into various offices in United Kingdom, United States, consulates, companies, what have you. We still don't have that list released. It's not going to be so easy because I'm sure some of the people who are in positions of power who happen to be CCP members would be doing their darndest to try and not let this thing come out. As far as we know, there are 4 different entities, global, worldwide, who have information. And also there is some interesting stuff coming out in terms of what is going to happen about WikiLeaks founder Assange, I should say. And there's a lot of stuff happening. This is one year-end that is going to be an edge of the seat thriller. And I can tell you that at this point, we are not taking any sides. We are just telling you all the things that are happening. It is very unfortunate that, people choose to report what they want to and leave the rest out in the dust. Another interesting story that you should all look at when you have time is the Tucker Carlson report that came out yesterday on YouTube, where it's available on Fox also if you can go back to look at their archives. What he talks about is the amazing number of appointments from social media companies and Microsoft in the incoming Biden administration. And why is that happening? And there may be some hint there also. So let's just wait and see how things fall. But thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with more news. Hopefully we'll have some names by then for you. And also the Hunter Biden scandal, that has not gone away. There's also some other things that are coming out that we are trying to confirm. We want to make sure that the news is correct before we share it with you. So for all that and more, do join us tomorrow, share and subscribe to YouTube channel and donate to our cause. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you and namaskar.